The last person Emily Carter expected to see at an airport was the man she had spent 15 years trying to forget. On a chilly Tuesday morning, Emily adjusted the strap of her worn handbag and guided her 10-year-old son through the crowded terminal. Travelers hurried past in every direction, rolling suitcases behind them and checking departure boards overhead. The noise of announcements echoed through the building, blending with conversations and footsteps. To everyone around her, it looked like an ordinary travel day. For Emily, it felt like the most important day of her life. Her savings account was nearly empty. The rent was due in less than 2 weeks. The part-time administrative jobs she had been juggling for the past year barely covered necessities. Every unexpected expense had become a source of anxiety. The flight she was about to board represented more than transportation. It represented hope. A company in another state had invited her for a final interview, and if she secured the position, it could finally provide the stability she had spent years searching for. Emily glanced down at Noah. He sat patiently beside her at the gate, reading a book while waiting for boarding to begin. His calm demeanor always amazed her. Although he rarely complained, Emily knew he had sacrificed many things because of their financial struggles. Family vacations were replaced by local park visits. New electronics were replaced by carefully repaired hand-me-downs. Through it all, Noah remained supportive and optimistic. That alone motivated Emily to keep moving forward, even on the days when she felt exhausted. "Are you nervous?" Noah asked, closing his book. Emily smiled. "A little. You always do great in interviews." His confidence made her laugh softly. "Thank you, buddy." As boarding time approached, Emily stood and gathered her documents. The folder contained copies of her resume, references, certifications, and every piece of paperwork she might need. She had reviewed them so many times she could practically recite every page from memory. Then, without warning, someone hurried past and accidentally bumped into her shoulder. The folder slipped from her hands. Papers scattered across the polished floor, sliding in different directions through the busy terminal. Oh no! Emily immediately knelt down and began collecting them. Several sheets drifted beneath nearby seats. Others landed several feet away. Embarrassment flushed her cheeks as travelers stepped around the mess. Before she could gather everything herself, another pair of hands reached down to help. "I think this belongs to you." The voice was calm, familiar, and strangely unforgettable. Emily accepted the document automatically and looked up. For a moment, the sounds of the airport seemed to disappear. The years vanished. The crowded terminal faded into the background. Standing in front of her was a man she had not seen since college graduation. His face was older now, more mature, but unmistakable. The same thoughtful eyes, the same quiet confidence, the same presence she once knew better than anyone. Emily stared in disbelief. The man seemed equally surprised. Neither spoke for several seconds. Then a slow smile appeared on his face. "Emily," he asked softly. Her heart skipped. 15 years of memories rushed back all at once. "Ryan," she whispered. Out of all the airports in America, on all the days they could have traveled, neither of them could have imagined this moment. Yet somehow, fate had placed them in the same terminal at exactly the same time. For several seconds, neither Emily nor Ryan moved. The airport continued buzzing around them, but the moment felt strangely separate from everything else. 15 years had passed since they last stood face to face, yet the familiarity remained. Emily carefully gathered the final pages of her resume, while Ryan handed her the remaining documents. "I cannot believe it is really you," Ryan said with a quiet laugh. Emily shook her head. "I was about to say the same thing." Noah looked back and forth between them with curiosity. "Mom, who is this?" Emily hesitated for a moment, surprised by how difficult the answer felt. "This is Ryan," she said. "We knew each other a long time ago." Ryan smiled warmly and extended his hand. "Nice to meet you, Noah." Noah shook it politely. "Nice to meet you too." Before anyone could say more, an announcement echoed through the terminal. Their flight had been delayed due to severe weather conditions affecting several airports along the route. Travelers groaned collectively while airline employees began updating departure information. Emily glanced toward the large screen and sighed. A 3-hour delay. Under normal circumstances, she would have been frustrated. Today, however, she was too distracted by the unexpected reunion standing in front of her. Ryan noticed her expression. "Looks like we have some extra time." Emily laughed softly. "Apparently." They eventually found seats near a large window overlooking the runway. Rain clouds were gathering in the distance, and aircraft moved slowly across the tarmac. Noah settled into a nearby chair with his book, giving the adults space to talk. At first, the conversation remained simple. They discussed where they lived, how long it had been since college, and how quickly the years seemed to disappear. Yet beneath the small talk, both of them felt the weight of unspoken history. Ryan had been Emily's first love. During college, they shared plans, dreams, and a future they once believed was inevitable. Then, almost overnight, everything changed. Ryan moved away unexpectedly. Communication faded. Time passed. Life continued. Neither of them ever truly received the closure they needed. "You look good," Ryan said sincerely. Emily smiled. "You are very kind." "I mean it." She noticed that he seemed much calmer than she remembered. More confident. There was a quiet steadiness about him now. "What about you?" she asked. "What have you been doing all these years?" Ryan shrugged modestly. "Working mostly. Traveling more than I would like. Staying busy." The answer felt surprisingly ordinary. Emily had expected something more specific, but she did not press further. Instead, Ryan asked about her life. She told him about Noah, about raising him on her own, and about the interview she was traveling to attend. Ryan listened carefully, never interrupting. More than once, Emily noticed the genuine concern in his eyes. Unlike many people, he did not seem distracted by his phone or surroundings while she spoke. He paid attention, really paid attention. As the hours passed, the awkwardness slowly disappeared. Laughter returned. Old memories resurfaced. They talked about professors they once admired, embarrassing college moments, and dreams they used to share. For the first time in years, Emily found herself smiling without forcing it. Yet deep inside, she also felt something else. A question. Why had fate brought them together again after all this time? As another boarding update appeared on the departure screen, neither of them realized that this unexpected delay was only the beginning of a much larger reunion that would soon change both of their lives. The delay stretched into the afternoon, giving Emily and Ryan far more time together than either of them expected. What began as polite conversation gradually became something deeper. The years separating them seemed to shrink with every story they shared. Noah occasionally joined the conversation, asking questions or making observations that caused both adults to laugh. Ryan seemed genuinely interested in everything Noah had to say, and Emily noticed how naturally they interacted. It was a small detail, but one she could not ignore. Many people spoke politely to children. Ryan actually listened to them. As rain tapped softly against the airport windows, the conversation drifted toward the past. They talked about college classes, favorite professors, and late-night study sessions fueled by cheap coffee and impossible deadlines. Some memories felt so vivid that Emily could almost picture them happening again. For the first time in many years, she found herself remembering not only the sadness of how things ended, but also the happiness that came before it. Ryan smiled when he recalled a charity fundraiser they organized during their senior year. Emily laughed at the memory of a disastrous cooking attempt in their tiny student apartment. The easy laughter surprised both of them. Time had changed many things, but it had not erased the comfort they once shared. Eventually, Ryan leaned back in his chair and glanced out toward the runway. "Do you ever think about those years?" he asked quietly. Emily knew exactly what he meant. She considered her answer carefully. "Sometimes," she admitted. "Mostly when I wonder how different life might have been." Ryan nodded slowly. There was no bitterness in his expression, only reflection. "I have wondered the same thing." For a moment, neither spoke. The silence was not uncomfortable. It carried the weight of experiences neither of them could fully explain. Emily had spent years believing that chapter of her life was permanently closed. Yet sitting beside Ryan now, she realized some stories never completely disappear. They simply wait. The conversation shifted again when Ryan asked about her current life. This time, Emily shared more honestly. She spoke about balancing work and parenting, about the uncertainty that came with financial struggles, and about the constant pressure of trying to create stability for Noah. She did not complain. She simply told the truth. Ryan listened carefully, his expression thoughtful. Several times he asked questions that revealed genuine concern rather than simple curiosity. Emily appreciated that. Many people offered sympathy. Very few took the time to understand. When Ryan finally spoke, his words were simple. "You should be proud of yourself." Emily laughed softly. Some days I do not feel very successful. Success is not always measured the way people think, Ryan replied. Raising a good kid and never giving up when things get hard sounds pretty successful to me. His words stayed with her. Nobody had said something like that in a very long time. As boarding time finally approached, passengers began gathering near the gate. The storm had passed, and the airline announced that departures would resume shortly. Emily felt an unexpected disappointment. The delay that had initially seemed inconvenient had become something else entirely. It had given her the chance to reconnect with someone she once cared about deeply. As they stood and collected their belongings, Ryan smiled. I am glad that flight was delayed. Emily smiled back. So am I. Neither of them knew exactly what would happen after they landed, but for the first time in many years, the future felt slightly less uncertain. What Emily did not realize was that the biggest surprise was still waiting ahead, hidden behind a truth Ryan had not yet revealed. The flight itself felt shorter than Emily expected. Perhaps it was because her thoughts remained occupied by the unexpected reunion. As the plane crossed the clouds and headed toward its destination, she occasionally glanced across the aisle where Ryan sat several rows away. They had exchanged seats during boarding so Noah could remain beside her, but every now and then their eyes met and a small smile followed. It felt strangely natural, as if the years between them had somehow softened rather than erased their connection. After landing, the busy rhythm of travel quickly returned. Passengers collected luggage, checked phones, and hurried toward ground transportation. Before parting ways, Ryan approached Emily and Noah near baggage claim. Good luck tomorrow, he said. You are going to do great. Emily appreciated the encouragement more than she expected. Thank you. Ryan hesitated for a moment before reaching into his pocket and handing her a business card. It contained only his name, phone number, and email address. No impressive title. No company information. Nothing unusual. If you ever need anything, or if you just want to catch up sometime, call me. Emily accepted the card with a smile. I would like that. Noah grinned. Maybe we can all have lunch. Ryan laughed. I would like that too. After saying goodbye, they went their separate ways. The following morning, Emily arrived at the office building where her interview would take place. The structure was modern and impressive, occupying several floors in one of the city's busiest business districts. Standing outside, Emily felt the familiar mixture of hope and nervousness. She reminded herself why she was there. This opportunity could change everything. Inside the lobby, she checked in with reception and waited alongside several other candidates. As she reviewed notes one final time, she thought briefly about Ryan. During all their conversations at the airport, he had remained remarkably modest about his own life. He mentioned work often, but never discussed details. He talked about travel, projects, and responsibilities, yet never once sounded boastful. Emily assumed he was probably a successful manager or consultant. Whatever career path he had followed, he seemed comfortable and stable. Beyond that, she knew very little. The interview process lasted most of the day. Emily met with department leaders, participated in group discussions, and answered questions about leadership, communication, and problem solving. Although challenging, the experience went better than she expected. By late afternoon, she felt cautiously optimistic. As she left the building, her phone vibrated. A message from Ryan appeared. How did it go? Emily smiled immediately. The simple question felt thoughtful. She replied that she believed it went well and thanked him for checking in. Within moments, another message arrived. I knew you would do great. Over the next several days, their conversations continued. Nothing dramatic. Simple messages. Friendly check-ins. Occasional phone calls. Noah quickly became excited whenever Ryan called, often asking if he could say hello. Emily noticed something comforting about the growing friendship. There was no pressure. No expectations. Just two people reconnecting after many years apart. Yet beneath the surface, questions still lingered. Why had Ryan revealed so little about his own life? Why did he seem more interested in learning about her experiences than discussing his own accomplishments? Emily assumed there was nothing unusual behind the mystery. She had no idea that nearly everyone in the company where she had just interviewed already knew Ryan's name. Very soon, she would discover exactly why. The following week felt like a strange blend of anticipation and uncertainty. Emily returned home after the interview and resumed her normal routine, but life no longer felt quite the same. Each morning, she checked her email before making breakfast for Noah. Each afternoon she watched her phone, hoping for news about the position. At the same time, her conversations with Ryan continued to grow more frequent. They exchanged messages throughout the week, sharing stories about their days, discussing books, and occasionally laughing about memories from college. The connection felt surprisingly natural, as though they had simply paused a conversation years ago and were now continuing it. One Saturday afternoon, Ryan called while Emily and Noah were shopping for groceries. Noah immediately recognized his voice and insisted on speaking with him. For nearly 10 minutes, the two discussed baseball, school projects, and favorite movies. Watching them talk brought an unexpected smile to Emily's face. Ryan never treated Noah like an obligation. He treated him like a person whose thoughts genuinely mattered. That small detail stayed with her. Later that evening, Emily found herself thinking about the future more than usual. She wanted the job desperately, not because she dreamed of luxury or status, but because she wanted stability. She wanted to stop worrying about every bill. She wanted Noah to have opportunities she could not always provide. Most of all, she wanted the constant pressure weighing on her shoulders to finally ease. 2 days later, an email arrived requesting that she attend a final in-person meeting with company leadership before a hiring decision would be made. The message surprised her. She had already completed what she believed was the last stage of the process. Nevertheless, she immediately accepted the invitation. The meeting was scheduled for the following morning. When Emily arrived at the corporate headquarters, she noticed a different atmosphere than before. Employees moved with purpose through the modern lobby. Large digital displays highlighted company achievements, community projects, and executive leadership profiles. While waiting near the reception area, she casually glanced toward one of the screens. At first, she paid little attention. Then a familiar face appeared. Emily froze. The display showed a professional company video introducing senior leadership. There, smiling confidently beside employees and community partners, was Ryan Brooks. His name appeared beneath the image. Founder and Chief Executive Officer. Emily stared in disbelief. Surely there had to be another Ryan Brooks. Yet as the video continued, there was no mistake. The man she had been speaking with almost every day since the airport was the very person leading the organization. Her mind raced through every conversation they had shared. Not once had he mentioned being a CEO. Not once had he hinted at the scale of his success. He had listened to her struggles, asked about Noah, and treated her exactly the same way he had years ago. The revelation left her stunned. Suddenly, moments she had barely questioned started making sense. The confidence, the travel, the responsibilities he described so vaguely. Even his calm demeanor now seemed different when viewed through this new lens. Before she could fully process the discovery, a staff member approached and escorted her toward the conference room. As she followed the employee down the hallway, one thought repeated itself over and over. Ryan had changed far more than she ever realized. What Emily did not yet know was whether that truth would bring them closer together or create a distance neither of them expected. Emily spent most of the meeting trying to remain focused while processing what she had just learned. The executives asked thoughtful questions about leadership, communication, customer relations, and problem solving. She answered as professionally as possible, drawing from years of experience managing responsibilities far beyond any job description. Yet in the back of her mind, one question refused to disappear. Why had Ryan never told her the truth? By the time the meeting ended, Emily felt emotionally exhausted. As she walked through the lobby, she glanced once more at the company display featuring Ryan's photograph and accomplishments. The screen highlighted awards, business achievements, and community initiatives that had earned national recognition. The scale of his success was far beyond anything she had imagined. During all their conversations, he had never mentioned any of it. He had spoken about work the same way someone might discuss an ordinary office job. That evening, Ryan called as usual. For the first time since reconnecting, Emily hesitated before answering. Eventually, she picked up. After a brief greeting, Ryan immediately sensed something was different. "You found out," he said gently. Emily sat quietly for a moment. "Why did you not tell me?" There was no anger in her voice, only confusion. Ryan exhaled softly. "Because I wanted you to see me, not my title." The answer caught her off guard. "Most people act differently once they know," he continued. "I did not want that between us." Emily understood what he meant, but the revelation still felt overwhelming. The man she had been reconnecting with was not simply successful. He was leading an organization with thousands of employees. Suddenly, she became aware of the enormous gap between their lives. Ryan seemed to recognize exactly what she was thinking. "Emily, nothing changed today." "Everything changed today," she replied honestly. "At least from my perspective." The conversation remained respectful, but a subtle distance appeared. Over the following days, Emily found herself questioning things she had not questioned before. Had their reunion been genuine? Had Ryan already known she was interviewing with his company? Had her application received special treatment? The uncertainty bothered her more than she expected. Meanwhile, Ryan remained patient. He continued calling, checking on Noah, and asking about her day exactly as he always had. He never pressured her or defended himself aggressively. Instead, he allowed her the time she needed to process everything. Then, 3 days later, Emily received another call from the company's hiring department. Her heart pounded as she answered. The recruiter informed her that she had been selected for the position. The role offered significantly better pay, strong benefits, and opportunities for advancement. Emily thanked the recruiter and carefully listened to every detail. After ending the call, she sat in silence. Relief washed over her, followed almost immediately by doubt. She wanted the job desperately, yet another concern lingered. Had she earned it? That evening, she finally asked Ryan directly. His answer came without hesitation. "I had absolutely no involvement in the hiring decision." He explained that once he learned she was applying, he intentionally removed himself from the process. Multiple independent committees evaluated candidates. The final decision belonged entirely to them. Emily listened carefully. Something about his response felt sincere. More importantly, it matched everything she had learned about him since reconnecting. Ryan never tried to impress people with power. In fact, he seemed determined not to use it. For the first time since discovering the truth, Emily began to relax. Yet another mystery still remained unanswered. If Ryan had not influenced her future, then why had he disappeared from her past all those years ago? After receiving the job offer, Emily expected to feel nothing but relief. Instead, her emotions remained complicated. She was grateful for the opportunity and proud of what she had accomplished, yet the unanswered questions about Ryan continued to linger in her mind. For days, she focused on preparing for her new position, completing paperwork, arranging Noah's school schedule, and planning the changes that came with a more stable future. Life was finally moving forward. Still, every time her phone rang and Ryan's name appeared on the screen, she found herself thinking about the past. One evening, after Noah had gone to bed, Ryan called and asked if they could meet for coffee. His voice carried a seriousness she had not heard before. Emily agreed. The following afternoon, they met at a quiet cafe overlooking a small lake near the city. The atmosphere was peaceful, and for a few minutes they talked about ordinary things. Then Ryan set down his coffee cup and looked directly at her. "There is something I should have told you a long time ago." Emily felt her heart begin to race. She knew immediately what he meant. For 15 years, she had carried her own version of the story. Now she was finally about to hear his. Ryan took a slow breath. "The week before graduation, my father became seriously ill." Emily listened quietly. She remembered how suddenly everything had changed back then. One day they were planning a future together, and the next he was gone. "My family had financial problems I never told anyone about," Ryan continued. "My father had guaranteed loans for a business partnership that failed. We lost almost everything within a few months." Emily stared at him in surprise. She had never known. During college, Ryan had always appeared confident and optimistic. "When my father became sick, I had to leave immediately," he said. "I thought it would be temporary. I planned to come back and explain everything." His expression darkened with regret. But things kept getting worse. "My father passed away 6 months later. My mother needed help. I was working multiple jobs and trying to keep our family afloat." Emily felt a wave of emotion she had not expected. The story sounded nothing like the assumptions she had carried for years. "Why did you not call?" she asked softly. Ryan lowered his eyes. "At first, I was embarrassed. Then more time passed. Every month that went by made it harder. Eventually, I convinced myself that you deserved a better life than the uncertainty I could offer." Emily sat silently. 15 years of misunderstanding suddenly seemed painfully fragile. All those years she had believed he chose to leave. In reality, he had been overwhelmed by circumstances he did not know how to handle. "I never stopped thinking about you," Ryan admitted. "Not once." The honesty in his voice made it impossible to doubt him. Neither spoke for several moments. Outside the cafe window, sunlight reflected across the lake. Finally, Emily smiled sadly. "We lost a lot of years." Ryan nodded. "We did." Then he added quietly, "But meeting you again reminded me that some things are worth fighting for, even after a long time." For the first time since their reunion, Emily felt the wall between them begin to disappear. The past could not be changed, but perhaps it no longer had to control the future. The weeks that followed marked the beginning of a new chapter in Emily's life. Her first days at the company were both exciting and intimidating. Everything felt larger than the jobs she had worked before. The responsibilities were greater, the expectations were higher, and the opportunities seemed endless. Yet despite her initial nerves, Emily quickly discovered that she belonged there. The same determination that had helped her raise Noah through difficult years now helped her excel in her new role. She arrived early, stayed prepared, and treated every person with respect. Before long, colleagues began seeking her advice and valuing her perspective. What meant even more to her was knowing that she had earned her place. No special favors, no shortcuts, just hard work and perseverance. Throughout this transition, Ryan remained a steady presence in her life. True to his word, he never interfered with her career. At work, he treated her exactly as he treated every employee. Their personal relationship existed completely separate from the professional environment. Emily respected him for that. It confirmed what she had slowly come to understand since their reunion. The man she remembered from college was still there beneath the success and accomplishments. One Saturday afternoon, Ryan joined Emily and Noah at a local community festival. Families filled the park while children played games and musicians performed on a small outdoor stage. The event was simple, but the happiness on Noah's face made it feel special. As they walked together through the crowd, Emily noticed how naturally Ryan fit into their lives. He never tried to impress anyone. He simply showed up, listened, and cared. At one point, Noah challenged Ryan to a basketball shooting contest at a temporary court set up near the festival entrance. Ryan accepted immediately. To Noah's delight, he missed several easy shots and laughed at himself the entire time. Watching them together, Emily felt something she had not experienced in years. Peace. Not excitement. Not uncertainty. Peace. Later that evening, after Noah had fallen asleep in the back seat during the drive home, Emily and Ryan sat quietly outside her apartment building. The summer air was warm, and the city lights glowed softly in the distance. "You know," Emily said, "for a long time I thought success would solve every problem." Ryan smiled gently. "And what do you think now?" Emily looked toward her sleeping son. "I think success matters less than who you get to share life with." Ryan remained silent for a moment before speaking. "That took me a long time to learn too." Their eyes met, and neither needed to explain what they were feeling. The connection between them was no longer based on old memories alone. It was built on who they had become. Two people shaped by challenges, mistakes, growth, and time. Over the following months, that bond continued to deepen. There were no dramatic declarations or impossible promises. Instead, there were shared dinners, conversations, laughter, and trust. The relationship developed slowly and naturally, giving both of them time to heal old wounds and appreciate new possibilities. Looking back, Emily often thought about that delayed flight and the unexpected reunion that followed. What once seemed like a random moment at an airport now felt like the beginning of something extraordinary. Yet the greatest surprise was still waiting ahead, arriving almost exactly 1 year after the day their paths crossed again. As the seasons changed, Emily and Ryan continued to build a life that balanced work, family, and friendship in ways neither of them had expected. Their mornings began with quiet routines, preparing Noah for school while exchanging light conversation about the day ahead. Emily would often drive him to work in the early hours before heading to her office, and Ryan sometimes joined for coffee runs on weekends, blending effortlessly into their little trio. One crisp autumn afternoon, they decided to take Noah to a nearby park with winding trails and a small lake, where ducks swam lazily under the golden leaves. Watching Noah chase the ducks, laughing freely, Emily felt a sense of stability she had not known in years. Ryan offered gentle guidance, pointing out the different species of birds and encouraging Noah to notice the changing colors of the trees. Their connection deepened not through grand gestures, but through consistent presence, trust, and mutual respect. Later that week, Ryan invited Emily to tour the company headquarters, showing her how decisions were made and introducing her to some of the teams he worked closely with. Emily was impressed not by the luxury of the offices or the technology at hand, but by the way Ryan treated every employee with patience, listening, and consideration. During the tour, Ryan shared small stories about challenges faced and lessons learned, making Emily appreciate not only his professional success, but his integrity and humility. Over time, evenings became a mixture of homework sessions, shared dinners, and quiet reflection. Occasionally, they would sit on Emily's balcony after Noah was asleep, sipping tea and discussing hopes for the future. Those moments were filled with comfort and understanding, the kind of companionship that felt unspoken yet profoundly reassuring. Winter brought its own challenges, including shorter days and colder nights, but the small joys, baking cookies with Noah, decorating their modest apartment, or taking a brisk walk in the snow, became treasured rituals. Emily found herself reflecting on the unlikely reunion at the airport, realizing that it had set in motion a series of events leading to genuine partnership, both as co-parents and as friends discovering each other anew. Ryan's attentiveness and warmth were constant reminders of shared history and present commitment, while Noah's laughter and curiosity brought a grounding joy to everyday life. As spring approached, the three of them planned a small picnic at a nearby botanical garden, a celebration of growth, renewal, and the quiet happiness they had nurtured together. Emily and Ryan walked hand in hand, occasionally glancing at each other and smiling, acknowledging the unspoken understanding between them. Life had not been simple, but it was authentic and filled with love, patience, and a sense of belonging. Looking back on the journey, from missed connections and old memories to the careful